Hey guys, so I've finally gotten around to doing a video on the base that I've used for the last few wipes now. A lot of people have been asking. I kind of was holding off a bit as I was still using it and didn't want to show it yet, but I'm ready to show it now. It is a small group kind of trio quad 5-man base. When I was designing it, I kind of had the idea to make it an all-rounder, so it's good in online defense, and as well as that, it has some hidden offset bunkers. That means it can also be good for offline defense. It has 2 to 3 walls of protection to any level that has loot on it, as well as a very compact shooting floor / pick-downs design. I don't know who exactly came up with this idea, but I know people have kind of been calling it a mini China wall. It is super effective to keep the cost of a base that is still quite large and has extra walls of protection down, so you don't have to end up spending a ridiculous amount trying to build it. As you can see here, it's pretty much 2 boxes of stone and 2 boxes of metal. It is 900 high qual here, but that's because I've pretty much upgraded everything that you can, and of course you don't have to do that straight away in a wipe. So before we get into the build itself, we'll go through a quick base tour itself, just to show you what's going on and how it's laid out. Obviously you've got your mini Satori external TCs. This has only got 2 TCs on it currently. This is obviously maxed out as well, as far as everything is pretty much sheet metal. You can do another 2 TCs off the side here if you want, but currently I only have 2 TCs on this. That's pretty much up to you on whether you'd want to increase the raid cost. The external gates that I'm using here are just a very simple design that gives you pretty much 100% like coverage on your front doors. It's very easy. You can replace these and have any embrasures of any kind if you want here. Obviously some compound peaks. Going into the compound itself, you've got obviously the shooting floor acts still as a wide gap shooting floor itself. There's pretty much no real angle you can hide from the external side where you won't be visible from somewhere. And then you've got your mini China wall on the inside. You've got external bedrooms here. You can pretty much replace these to whatever you want. These I like though, this layout. It's very simple, very easy. You can fit a lot of furnies, anything else you want in the compound. Enough room to land a scrappy or 2. Going into the mini China wall itself, you've got a load of box space, drop boxes, very nice turrets that cover pretty much everything with multiple turrets. Obviously, depending on how many turrets you can place, these are the best in my opinion. These ones are very hard to deal with for raiders, and they also make it very hard if there's a breach for raiders to actually get into the base without getting destroyed by those. On the sides, you've got more bedrooms with boxes here for your kits and turrets above them. Got those, you got 4 of those. Going into the chutes to the shooting floor, this is where your first battery will be. These are protected by obviously a HQM wall and then a sheet wall, so it's very expensive to take out these batteries, and these have won me plenty of raids. They haven't been found, and if they have, it's been too expensive to get to them. Going up here, you've got another bedroom, and then this takes you all the way to the shooting floor with another bedroom here. I've pretty much laid this out for a 4-man, so there'd be 4 beds, but obviously you can have heaps of people, and there's a bunch of other space to put beds as well. So here you've got space for small furnies. This is where your roof bunker is placed here to break the offset bunker. So there's 2 of those on each side, obviously. And then making our way into the base itself here. This is the 2nd floor, pretty much just a drop box area as well. I wouldn't really keep any of my important loot here. Here's the bunker itself. Obviously you place a roof outside, that destroys this. Going down from here, you're in your core, which has your TC. Again, this is maxed out, so obviously it's very expensive sheet metal, metal wise, but this is enough space for a starter. And then you've got 2 entrances going up here. These are also bunkered as well. It's a bit of a pain to place from down here, so I'll have to do it up top, but you pretty much just jump up here and you're into your open core. These are obviously both bunkers as well. Then you're in your open core. Box layout is completely up to you, what you want to do, how you want to place things. Then you've got your 2 hidden loot rooms up here, which is where I would put my most important loot probably when I log off. And these are obviously the bunkers as well that you can seal very easily. Then you've got your boxes in the ground that give you heaps of space, your tier 3. This gives you access straight up to the roof very easily. Going into the shooting floor, It is a very nice shooting floor that has a lot of different angles you can use. You've got your chutes that come up here on each side that give you access to your shooting floor, which was our main problem in that raid defense we had. We didn't have access. I hadn't added these to the design yet, but now that we have access to the shooting floor, this will make it a lot easier. These little peaks to the roof, nothing special, but still give you more access to retake your roof. Going from here, go up onto the roof. You have more space for beds and another 2 batteries, obviously lockers. And then going into your roof, you've got very nice turret coverage with 2 turrets watching pretty much every angle. Different roof peaks you can use here. Peek through the embrasures from the roof as well. This is completely left open to what you'd want to do. When we were on the iceberg, we had spotlights here, but you could do anything you want. Obviously, you can fit space for SAM sites as well, depending on where military base is. And then where you would land gyros and stuff up here, or minicopters, sorry, you have 2 more turrets that are protected from rockets from above and also cover this upper part here. So that's pretty much the base, and we'll get into the build now, I guess. So starting off with the starter, it's a very basic 1x2 honeycombed, which you then of course seal all the way in. Now it's not exactly the nicest starter to live in because it is a 1x2, but it's better than some triangle bases, so I don't mind it. I would pretty much just build the 2x2 straight off the bat and then play out of that for a little bit while I get some guns and BPs, etc., depending on how I'm playing the wipe. But obviously you can do the bunkers straight away very quickly. They're not that hard to do. Offset bunkers, they're actually fairly easy. You just need a teammate or 2 maybe to watch you while you're doing it, or just make sure it's safe outside. I like doing that early, as then I can get my external TCs down as well. Even though it makes your base a bit more of a target, then you can avoid getting TC griefed, which happens a lot pretty much whenever I decide to not do the TCs. Now starting with the offset bunker, you're pretty much just going from the honeycomb here on one side, you're placing a triangle and a square, and then you're doing 11 triangles out from that square, then capping it with a square and deleting everything back towards the base, all the triangles, the square and the triangle. Then you're building squares all the way back in, and this is probably the hardest part here that you need to get right. You can see on the right hand side that foundation kind of moving depending on how you're looking. What you want to do is look off to the left while you're standing in the middle, place it, and then you should see this little effect going across from right to left. As you can see there, it's kind of going across the screen. There's also 3 little white dots you can see here placed like that. That means you've done it correctly. If you don't do it like that, you should see something like this, which is, as you can see, that effect's going kind of bottom left to top right. So you want to stand in the middle, look off to the left till it stops moving around, and then you should see that right to left motion on your screen, and that means you've done it correctly. You can then upgrade there, delete all the squares apart from the one that's attached to that triangle, go 11 triangles out again from the other side, cap it with a square, delete all those triangles back, and the wood foundation as well. Then when you go back with squares here, you want to be placing the square off the foundation you're standing on. So you want to place it while looking down and kind of go up and down a little bit, and then it should kind of, once it appears, you know you've done it off the foundation you're standing on. Then you want to do 2 half walls and then a triangle that you want to make sure is coming off those half walls, so do it like I do here, and then it should be 28 stability. Once you've done that, you want to go on the inside here and you want to make sure you do this frame off the core 1x2 or off that honeycomb part here that is to my front. Once you've placed that, it should be very high stability, somewhere in the 90s, and you should be able to place a triangle off the offset bunker itself, which means it'll overlap basically. Then once you place a roof, it should delete that. If you've done that, you know you've done it correctly. Then you can remove all this, upgrade the half walls and the triangle roof, delete this foundation. Make sure you delete this foundation once, then replace and upgrade it with that one. But make sure you delete it once. Once you've done that, you've succeeded in doing one offset bunker, so you've just got to do the other side, which is repeating the process. So once you've done your second side of the bunker, you've pretty much sorted your bunkers completely now, and you won't have to play around with them much more. So you add that second square, and then you place a raised triangle foundation on each side like so. Once you've done that, you've created a bit of an easy way to jump into the base for now, but I would pretty much straight away try and seal in your second floor. So this is kind of up to interpretation. You can place a door frame and a vending machine here. For example, I'm placing some furnaces, but this triangle you could even honeycomb in if you don't want to use it and just want to make it a bit more protection. I would just place furnaces here myself though. Then once you've sealed that in with a window or a door, whatever you want to do, you then add your walls on the outside here, which should snap on easily. And then you can turn these into loot rooms. For me, I just made them window loot rooms so I can seal them. I don't know, I just rather doing window loot rooms because the half wall kind of adds a bit more protection. And then at the front, you want to add a window on the right hand side, and then a door frame, two door frames on the left, which will be your entrance to the base. Now I did forget, but in that front honeycomb, which will be opposite to where you place a TC, you might want to place a half wall inside that. So then you can add a half wall that will be your jump up. You can use a ladder, but ladders can get shot out. So I would rather put a half wall there. That's normally what I do. I just forgot to do it in this build here. Then on your second jump up, you need to do the bunker as well. So you got to make sure you place your triangle off each of these walls here like so they're connecting to the correct parts. There should be a little gap here and it should be low stability. Then you want to do your frame off that outside wall to make sure that's connecting to the main part of the base, and then you should be able to place your triangle there to seal up that bunker essentially. Then you want to do that on the other side as well, like so here. Make sure you see that gap and the stability is low on one side or on the front side. Then do the frame off that side as well, and you should be able to seal that. And then you've got two of your bunker entrances, so if you wanted to log off at this point, this is pretty much your starter. Obviously add your deployables, however you do that on the wipe, depending on what you have access to. And at this point, if you have garage doors, you've pretty much assured yourself an 18 to 21 rocket raid, which is pretty good for a 1x2 in my opinion. Considering you've bunkered your entrances to the roof as well, that means you don't have to pick anything and you don't have to add extra doors, which can save you some more materials and some more time jackhammering out some triangles to upgrade your base upwards. As you can see here, this is pretty much how I would upgrade everything. I would just upgrade this frame as well to metal, just doesn't really matter, but I guess it hides it a little better that that's the jump down, even though I'm guessing most people would be able to tell. I'd also upgrade everything in the core here like so. This wall is the one exposed wall to the outside that doesn't have a piece of honeycomb on it yet. You can add that honeycomb, as you'll see later. You can add a extra layer of honeycomb, which you will on all those triangles, but for now I would just upgrade that wall to HQ and then upgrade everything else to metal as it's got stone honeycomb on the outside. So after completing the starter, the next thing I would do is move on to external TCs and compound. So to do our external TCs slash wide gap shooting floor slash bottom peaks and China wall, all you do is triangle off the entrance side here, the long side of the 1x2, and do 4 squares out. Then triangle back in 3 times, square, triangle, triangle. That will give you this little diamond shape here. Then all you need to do is a triangle and a square, triangle here and triangle again. And then you go to your bunkers and your raised triangle there and do 2 off that. Then repeat the process on the other side. And you have one side of your bottom peak slash wide gap shooting floor slash externals done. Then you just need to go to the other side and do the same thing. Now, once you get the other side done, we move on to doing the external TCs themselves. Now, external TCs are really up to personal preference in my opinion, and what you feel like is the style you want to use. For me, I've recently been enjoying this very simple exit here that has basically just a triangle that goes off and has 2 windows on it. Then you back the compound up to the walls that you'll see in a minute here that gives it a perfect, pretty much 180-degree view of your exit, which means it's very hard to get door camped. On top of that, I then use the Mini Satori disconnectable TC, which is very straightforward, and I'm pretty sure you just can't go wrong with this at this point. It obviously means that if you get your main TC, if your main TC gets raided, sorry, you can then just use this to disconnect your externals and place a new one down, and then just add the frame, so you don't have to go about destroying your external TCs, which can be a real pain in the ass sometimes depending on when you get raided. I've had a few situations where I've had to do that at 5 AM and it absolutely makes me want to die. So as you can see here, this is how the Mini Satori disconnectable TC works. Once you've done that on one side, you obviously just need to do that on the other side, and then you've got your 2 external TCs. This base only has 2 external TCs. You can do 4 if you want to. I personally just haven't done that, but that's completely up to you. Again, adds a bit of build cost. It's probably better. I would probably suggest doing 4, but for me here, I've just done 2 exits and 2 external TCs. After you've completed both of your gatehouses, you then obviously need to add your barricades to those gatehouses. For me, this is the setup I use, which is just simple, lets me use only 2 barricades, which makes it cheaper as well, not needing 3. It's pretty much putting one lower here on that triangle and then putting one up higher here on the turret pods. It's pretty much gonna cover you from any kind of jump in. Obviously, you could also add branches here, which is what we usually do on the inside, that blocks build-ups. The main downside to a Mini Satori external TC is that you can build up onto these frames very easily by using the half wall where the TC is placed, and that gives you a very easy jump in, but you can defeat that by just using some branches or lights. There's a few different ways you can use on the inside of your gate, which blocks any kind of build-up. Now, the external bedrooms that I use here just act as the other kind of compound block, the compound separator. This is very simple here, just one barricade in that triangle, and square you can put bed, locker. I'll show you later when I do the deployables, but I add a roof here and then just one barricade, and it's very simple. Obviously I do that on the other side, which gives you 4 sectioned off parts of the compound. Now, once you've done that, a quick note on these frames here, you need to add these, otherwise they are not connected to the triangles here that act as your peak downs and wide gap shooting floor. I show here that I add a wall and a frame. You actually need to add the half walls where the other part of the bottom kind of mini China wall goes, but you'll see here in a minute when I do that. You just need to remember that if you're not upgrading straight away, that you need to add these, otherwise these foundations will decay because they're not actually connected. Now, people might want to build up their base a bit more. I personally like doing external TCs and compound very early on in a wipe, so then you can get one windmill down and some turrets, and you can get large furnace cooking metal straight away, so you can have no problems needing metal and start upgrading your base in metal as well, as it is a lot cheaper. This is just the way I go about upgrading my bases, but obviously once you know the layout of this base, you can build it in whatever order you want. I just really think doing compounded external TCs early is very good and helps a lot for a lot of different reasons. Now, the compound itself is very easy here. Obviously, I would recommend just playing around with this on a build server, so you kind of get the idea of where you need to place the walls, so it doesn't end up being really scuffed. But you know, everyone's had a scuffed compound at some point, so it doesn't really matter that much. So at this point, you've got your external TCs done and your footprint pretty much complete. I would then go on to upgrading the core of the base up to the roof and completing the open core loot room with bunkers as well. So to start off the expansion on the second floor, you pretty much just half wall everything around the edge here. And then you also half wall the triangles here where the entrance is going up. And then once you've done that, you do one half wall in the middle, which will be the in-ground loot room there. And then these triangles don't really matter. You just want to make sure they have good stability, whether they go off the offset bunker themselves or not. Doesn't matter, as we're doing a triangle ladder hatch, not a bunker on this level here. So you add 2 triangle ladder hatches. Obviously, if you don't have these, you just need to add ladders there until you get those BPs. And we do 2 triangles here and seal that up completely. Then we'll add full walls all the way around the edge here on the 2 triangle honeycomb sides. And then we add a frame in the middle. After that, we set up to do our little secret bunker loot rooms in the roof, which means we'll do the triangle off that one wall again on both sides. Then we'll do the frame off the right hand side wall like this. Both stabilities will be pretty low right now as we have no frames or any roofs connected. Then once you do that, you can add your triangle just to make sure it's all working properly, like so, and it should be about 6 stability, I think these end up being. Once you've done that, you can then add the other side triangle, make sure that's coming off the wall like so again, and then add your frame here, which will show you that that 100% is going off the right wall. It should be about 40%. Once you do that, you can then add your triangles that will be your open core kind of loot room, like so. This box layout will again be completely up to how you want to do it. I'll show you at the end here, as you can see from the tour as well, how I've done it there. Then we add more frames here. And then we want to go to the exits onto the shooting floor, which will be a full wall on the left side and a half wall on the right. Then we add more frames, which will be the doors going to the shooting floor as well. Once you've done those frames, we're then just going to half wall this in, leave that open, as these will also be the chutes to your roof. Then we can go ahead and start sealing in the bunkers themselves, which means just more half walls on the edge here, going all the way around each side. Add your floors as well, then add the half walls to the other side, and then we seal up the 2 separate bunkers, which is just with half walls like so, which will leave one triangle, which is where you jump up, and one square where you put the boxes. Then you can just add another half wall here to seal up this kind of honeycomb. Seal up the roof, doesn't really matter where the triangle goes either, just whatever is the highest stability. Seal up the roof again, and then you've pretty much sealed in your bunkers. Then you can finish your chutes up to the roof, which is just a few more half walls like so, if the server wasn't lagging. And then you just do a triangle frame, and this is where you'll place ladder hatches that will give you easy access to the roof. Do that on both sides, and then add 2 windows and a double door frame, and you've got your chutes to the roof. Then you just add another layer of half walls, which will give your bunker another layer of protection. This just means if you do somehow get top down, which I don't think you should with turrets and roof protection, but if it does happen, this would be a very unlikely route for the raiders. Once you've done that, you've then pretty much completed the entire core going all the way up to the roof level. Now we'll want to start on our 2 chutes that go up the sides where the bunkers are, that will give us access to the shooting floor and our very well protected batteries. So first thing to do here is to upgrade both of these to high qual. You'll also want to be upgrading those half walls that are on the base side to high qual. But first do this and then add these frames, and you'll do a ladder hatch here. You'll obviously need a ladder here if you don't have a ladder hatch VP yet, but that's something hopefully you'll be able to work toward. Now people might think that it's weird that I'm HQing and then honeycombing a battery, but these batteries have won me so many raids, and if you wire all the turrets on the opposite side of the base to this battery, then when they raid you, there is almost no chance they are going to hit that battery, and they are going to have to take out and deal with every single turret. That is a huge advantage in a raid defense, especially when you're outnumbered. So I decided to make sure that I defended these batteries with as much as I could without making it too obvious of their location. I also just want to point out that if you don't add this half wall that I'm on and you just do the ladder hatch, you can fit another bed here instead of having just one bed, but that's again up to you and what you think is more important. Once you've built up here, you add your ladder hatch, and then you're pretty much on your shooting floor level. Now, this is pretty much just going to be mimicked on the other side of the base, so I don't think I need to walk you through that. So once we've done the other battery and the other chute on the other side, we then start sealing in our mini China wall / peak downs. I'll also walk through and show how I do the barricades and where I like placing the turrets. They're pretty straightforward. One annoying thing can be placing these roofs on these inter-compound peaks, I guess you call them. You just have to get the right angle, but it is a bit annoying when you don't have no clip to help you get above it. Now, these side rooms as well can be used in a different way. I decided to use them for bedrooms, but you could turn them into pretty much anything you wanted. You could add another battery there or just have more loot space and drop boxes. I don't think you'd need that, but that is completely up to you. Now, going up this side here where the honeycomb goes, you want to upgrade this wall because a bunch of it you can't touch once you seal a honeycomb in. So you want to make sure that you upgrade this wall as you go up. There are a few sides higher up like the open core that you can reach, and you want a HQ from the inside later on. But these first few bottom levels you won't be able to reach, so you need to make sure that you have the metal to upgrade them before you do this honeycomb. This honeycomb can be added right at the end though. You can do this after you've done the shooting floor. If you don't have the resources, you can skip doing this honeycomb and the base still works perfectly. It just has one layer less of protection. So that is completely up to you and what situation your wipe is. But once you add this honeycomb, you now have that extra layer of protection. So it's obviously something you want to get to as quickly as you can. You do this on both sides, but I'm just showing one side of the shooting floor here. Now, these frames here need to be metal to allow you to place turrets on them. So make sure you place them in metal. There's no point in them being stone because you can't place a turret on them until they are metal. Once you've done that, you also need to be aware that sometimes the barricades on top can block the turret placement. So maybe trying to get the turrets placed first is the safer option. Here, I didn't do that, but I was lucky enough that the way I placed them, it didn't interfere with placing the turret. So that's just something you have to be aware of and maybe you want to try. There were also 2 frames there that I added going up the middle that I wouldn't add until after I do the barricade. You'll see me delete them here in a minute in that middle section, these ones right here. They kind of make it a bit of a pain to actually add the barricades. The barricades are also not that necessary if you don't want to use them. If you have turrets, you essentially have that protection anyway, but they can be very good in a raid defense to block laddering areas if they have hit your battery and haven't taken out the barricades. So I'm just going to run through some of the turret placements that I do. These are obviously depending on how good the access is that you have to laptops and cameras and how many turrets you can make. We normally don't have a problem with that because we generally raid, so we get a lot of laptops and cameras from other people more so than monuments. But again, I'm just showing you all the different possibilities of where you can place them. Now, these are the frames I was talking about that can be a bit of a pain. Generally, you just want to stand on the inside and place this barricade, but because these frames are here, they actually block it. So what you'll need to do is make sure to not add those frames before you do your barricades, just to avoid any annoyance. You can place it like this, but it won't be as accurate and as clean. As you can see here, you pretty much just line up the middle pole of the barricade with the frame and you have a completely blocked area that no one can walk through. Then you can place these frames after that. Now this is pretty much the same for all of the other outside ones here along the top. You'll pretty much just need to climb your way up with a ladder, then jump up here, add some of these triangles and line it up like so. So last but not least, the roof. Now the roof again is, I guess, up to interpretation a little bit. This is the design that I went with, but if you have a different design you like as far as roofs go, then you can go with that. This I just like because it gives quite a few different angles and variations that you can use to peek from the roof and good cover. And it also gives very good protection for your turrets that you use on the roof from anyone who's flying over in a Mini trying to shoot them out with HVs and top down you. Now this second part on the top here is just another addition for when you need more battery space and a few more beds. It's very straightforward, so you can just copy as we go here. On top of having roof coverage with turrets, there is also the need for SAM sites now because of military base and MLRS rockets. So there is a few different spots here that I usually fit my SAM sites on these little stands. You can fit 3 of them aiming directly towards military base. If you can remember when you're building to aim it in the direction, the footprint in the direction of military base, it makes it a lot easier, but you generally won't have trouble trying to find a place on the roof to put SAM sites that will have a good line of sight of military base. Now, as for the windmills, these ones here that are placed over the up and down chutes from your core, I would run to the batteries that we just placed before on the roof here, and the ones that I place later on over the sides of the up and down chutes from the ground level, I would then run to those batteries that are very well defended at the bottom. So after doing all that, you'll see these corners here that I talked about in the base tour. These can be turned into anything really. You can add more roofs here and another turret. You can add windows and some kind of stair system to give you a different angle. For us, for example, our last wipe where we lived on the iceberg, I just added some big lights here just for an aesthetic and just to kind of make it look cool. But it's really up to you again how you would want to fill in this area. These can also be used for SAM sites depending on how the base is oriented towards military base. So this is just an area that I'll leave open to interpretation for you guys to work out how you want to utilize it. So after adding some turrets and the little turret pods, as you can see here, adding some large fernies, finishing up the external bedrooms, you're pretty much done with the base. Now, if you have any questions about deployables and stuff like that, I'd recommend you just watch the base tour, as you can pretty much see everything there, how I place, and everything is really up to you. There are a lot of different ways people like setting up their bases, so I don't think deployables are that important to show, as I think it's really preference to how you play and how you utilize your space. And that's pretty much it for the video. Now, I hope this video was easy to follow, or a lot easier to follow than some of my previous build videos, and I hope you guys enjoy playing in this base and building this base. It's honestly, without doubt, my favorite base that I've ever built, and I hope other people get to have some enjoyment living in it, or at least get to experience an online or two in it, or maybe even an offline, and see if those bunkers work for you. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button if you enjoy this video and you want to see more builds from me. Thank you guys for watching, and look out for a brand new Force Wipe video coming out in the next 2 weeks. It'll be awesome, I'm sure.